by Dave Doyle, July 7, 2019, 10 a.m. It's worth remembering, here on the day after the biggest victory of his career, that Jorge Masvidal got his start on the same South Florida backyard bare-knuckle circuit that produced the late, legendary Kimbo Slice. The first the world saw of the fighter now known as Gamebred came to light back in the primitive days of YouTube, where he took on a significantly larger phone known only as Ray at an undisclosed, outdoor Florida location, a man who happened to be Slice's protege. Masvidal whooped Ray. Then they had a rematch, and he did it again, even though Kimbo was the ref and his team was filming the fight. After that, Masvidal and Kimbo were cool. They earned each other's respect. They even ended up teammates at an American Top Team. Masvidal even talked about it to MMA Junkie at length after the much-missed Slice passed away in 2016. That's how Masvidal came up in the fight game, before he went what most of us consider legit. And it should help explain the no-nonsense way in which he handled himself during one of the most memorable moments in UFC history, his record-setting 5-second knockout of Ben Askren with a hellacious flying knee at UFC 239 in Las Vegas. It's how he's conducted himself throughout a career in which he's been a constant presence, a solid name on the card. Until recently, Masvidal wasn't a star, but rather, the welterweight was the sort of guy who, when you settle into your seats at the arena and look at the evening's lineup, you elbow your buddy and say, "Oh hey, Jorge Masvidal is on the card tonight, that fight should be a scrap." That was true whether he was fighting in Bodog fights, or the early days of Bellator, or Strikeforce, and all the way through the UFC. It was also true that basically, the only thing Masvidal was interested in was fighting, which meant he was the type of fighter the hardcores appreciated, but not the type who generated TV ratings or page views or pay-per-view buys or any of the rest of the assorted nonsense which feeds the hype machine that needs constant fuel. Masvidal wasn't here to make friends, and he also didn't start beef with anyone who didn't start with him first, which brings us back to Saturday night's fight with Askren. Askren embraces the media game as strongly as Masvidal avoids it, and he used his platform to run down Masvidal at any and every opportunity. Askren, who had never lost a fight in his MMA career and won world titles at every other stop along the way, made it clear he had his eyes set on a shot at UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman and only deigned to fight Masvidal because he was the only name available. Masvidal, for the most part, simply took mental notes and kept to himself. He skipped a media day in Los Angeles, giving Askren more room to talk more trash. Kept as low a profile as a main card fighter is allowed to keep on a stage as big as International Fight Week, getting by with the bare minimum on public obligations. Then fight night came, and things were done in the blink of an eye. 16 years building up to this moment, with Masvidal perfectly angling his knee in anticipation of Askren's attempt to duck and take him down, landing a horrifying bullseye, Askren stiffening the fight over before it began. Masvidal's post-fight mockery of Askren earned him scorn in some corners. It certainly wasn't the most sportsmanlike thing one could do. But then that, too, harkens back to what he learned fighting the likes of Ray in South Florida backyards. Handle your business. Keep your mouth shut. If someone wants to speak ill of you, settle it on fight night, and then, if you do your job, it's time to talk smack back. "I think my body of work speaks for itself," Masvidal said. "If you want sheer violence, you know who to call. If you want other, expletive, guys going to press conferences on time, you know who to call. There's no guarantee in this sport that a body of work which speaks for itself will be rewarded, not when there are all manner of gimmicks one can employ to shortcut your way to success. But sometimes, sticking by your principles does, in fact, pay off in the long run. And in this case, Masvidal seems, at worst, one win away from a title shot. You don't have to like Masvidal or approve of the way he handled himself after the knockout Saturday night. But you've got to respect that Masvidal's gotten to this point by being the exact same dude he was when he was fighting in backyards for no pay. For more on UFC 239, go to our results page. Breaking: Jorge Masvidal, Kimbo Slice, UFC 239 news, UFC lets block ads. Why?